Welcome to today's training. Today, we're going to be talking about telling your story to generate leads. And the reason why that's so important because in business, you got to learn how to tell your story. And you guys don't understand this. There's a saying that we've all heard before, which is facts tell, stories sell. And in direct sales and in network marketing, that is one of the most important things you can learn to do. And as you grow in your business, as you get bigger in your teams, and as you start developing, that skill set of building a team and building a business, you're going to see how more important your story will become. Because the people that are good at telling stories are the ones who grow the biggest businesses. Because in network marketing, people buy people. You've heard me say that before. They don't buy your products and services and companies and opportunity. They buy the relationships they can develop. And those relationships come in direct proportion to the stories that are being told. Because they can buy into it. They can buy into your personality. They can buy into your struggle. They can buy into your weaknesses and your challenges. And when they do, they feel like they can relate with you. Because if they can't relate with you, they're not going to do business with you. They're not going to want to do business with you. They're not going to, connect, which is what we talk about a lot today on online marketing. Another thing I want to address really quick, of course, this is our website. This is our academy, Business Sales Accelerator Academy. You're welcome to go to businesssalesacademy.com and check it out. It's still free as of this moment. It won't be soon, but as of right now, it still is. So if you want to go join it, you can. And if you have teams, I would strongly recommend to get your team to go join that academy while it's still free right now. But the reason why I'm talking about and doing these free trainings and why I'm talking about generating leads and telling your story, because you're going to learn in this training, there's two places to tell your story. Well, there's more than two probably, but we're going to talk about two tonight. And so I want to go over what a story is and how a story works and how to be able to craft your story. Because this is something no one ever really taught me about telling my story. What ended up happening is I just learned to tell my story, because I have so many of them. and I'm able to look back in my life over my 30-something years in direct sales and network marketing, and I have a lot of stories. And I've learned how to look back in my life and see all the challenges I've gone through, all the, what we would call bad things that's happened to me. And I don't look at them as bad. I look at them as stepping stones to get me to where I am today. And I can tell you right now, there's no place other than where I am right now that I want to be, because I believe God put me here for a reason, to be on this training to teach you for one reason. And so, there's nothing I want to do differently. And so I want to let you know how you tell your story is so important, because you can impact so many other people. So let's just go ahead and go through some techniques on telling your story. Let's look at a few things. There's 3 different stories that you're going to want to tell to be able to attract your ideal prospect. And that's the goal. And actually, I didn't write the word prospect there, so I'm going to go ahead and type it in. Prospect. There you go. Your ideal prospect, because that's the goal. That's the reason why we tell these stories, is because we were trying to attract our ideal prospect. Not just for telling them for the sake of telling them. Most of the time when I tell a story, it's for a reason. I don't just usually tell them for no reason. I like to listen to other people's story. So there's 2 things I do. I ask questions, and I like to get people to tell me their story. There's a few reasons why I want people to tell me their story. Because I get to learn from their story. When someone else tells me their story, I learn from it. And guess what? I use other people's stories. I tell other people's stories all the time. I tell the stories, and it doesn't, when I say a story, I don't necessarily mean a big old elaborate story. You are going to hear a few today, but I'm not talking about a big elaborate story. A story could just be a success story. Someone did this and they got this result. That's a story. Someone could say, well, I was 50 pounds overweight and I started using this product and I lost it and now I'm slim and trim. That's a story. And I look at those stories and I grasp, I put them in my memory bank, and I have a memory bank story system in my head. So I can tell those stories, throughout my week, throughout my day, when I meet a prospect, because I can use those stories to be able to relate to different people at different times in their life. so that to help them understand a few things, which you're going to learn in a minute, of what they're designed to do. So let's talk about the 3 different stories that you need to grasp. These are 3 basic ones. One of them is your good story. And your good story is a story that you, maybe a success story that you've had, or a success story that you've developed over the years, or maybe you had a big success at one time and you want to tell that story, and how you've helped other people. That's very important, how you are able to help other people through your good stories. So I'm going to give you an example of one of my good stories, and some of you may have heard this before. You listening to this for the first time may have never heard this before, but I want to tell you this story just because, so you can understand how the story flows and how it works. You know, years ago, I used to work for a company called Aflac, and then I left Aflac and I went for about 6 or 7 years trying to find my next big deal that I was going to do. And I found myself in a challenging situation. My wife and I, we had moved into a house in Lake Forest, and this house was about $770,000, and that was in 2006. And when we got into the house, it was $775,000. We didn't put any money down. That was when they basically gave you a house because you were breathing. You know, if you had breath in your body and you were alive, they gave you a home. So I couldn't afford the house, but they gave it to me anyway. And I had a $7,000 a month house payment. Now, what possessed me to take on a $7,000 a month house payment, I don't know. I was probably super optimistic, and I had just come from a business that I had made a lot of money, so I anticipated on making a lot of money again. And then my wife found out we were pregnant with our second child, my son Maddox, and my daughter was 4 or 5 years old, and my mom had just moved in with us at that time. So now we have this big house payment. So I started looking for something else. I was like, what am I going to do to be able to generate, the kind of income I need? I need at least $10,000, $15,000 a month. What can I do to do that? So I looked around at different things, and a friend of mine called me from Torrance and said, Stephen, why don't you come check out this business? And I said, okay. So I drove to Torrance from Lake Forest, which is about 50 miles away. I drove out there. I called my buddy Jay. I said, Jay, come with me. He said, okay. So we went out, and it was a real estate investment school. So when I looked at that real estate investment school, I realized, I wanted to join the business. It made sense. I was like, man, I could do this. But when I looked at my situation financially at the time, I was about $20,000 in debt. I apologize. That's not true. It cost $20,000 to join. I was $150,000 in debt at the time I looked at it, of not including my house payment and cars and stuff like that. I had about $150,000 in outstanding debt. And I didn't have 20 grand. So I looked at that business, but I saw that business as a way out, and I said, you know what? I think I can do this. I believe I can do this business. So I said, Jay, you want to get in with me? He goes, no, I don't. So I said, I don't have $20,000. And I really didn't have $20,000. I was in a tough situation, but I knew I needed to do something big. So I said, Andre, I'm going to go ahead and join this business. I don't have $20,000 today, but I'm going to fill out the paperwork, and I'm going to go ahead and, I don't even have the 75 hours to join today, but I'm going to go ahead and fill out the paperwork, and I'm going to find $20,000 in the next 2 weeks. So what I did is I left there, and I went and I said, I'm in. And the reason why I was able to do this, because I looked at myself in the mirror while I was sitting there at that table, because he left the room for me to think about it. And I pulled up a mirror to myself, and I was like, Stephen, you know what? You've been working for 20 years. And if you don't have a check to write, that you can write a check for $20,000 right now, then whatever you've been doing ain't working. I had to be real with myself. So you know what? Whatever I had been doing wasn't working. So I needed to change. So I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm changing. I'm in. And so that's when I said, I'm going to go ahead and dive in. So I pushed all my chips in and said, I'm all in. And I went and I looked for money, and I got some credit cards, and I went and got a PayPal line of credit, and I had a couple garage sales. I sold some stuff in my garage sales, sold some stuff on Craigslist. I applied for other credit cards. I did whatever it took. I had a business that I was in with a friend of mine. I sold my portion of the business back to him. Did whatever I had to do, and about a week later, I came back and I said, here, Andre, here's $20,000. I pushed all my chips in, I pushed it all on black and said, I'm in, all in. And once I jumped into that business, it was good. And then what ended up happening is 12 months later, I had put over $1.4 million in my bank account. But more importantly, just the success of that journey that I had, but how many people I helped. Over the next 12 months, I was able to help so many other people, learn the skill sets of what it takes to make a decision to do something and to really jump into a business full bore. take it on, learn it, and actually apply what they learned. And from there, I've helped a lot of people generate a lot of money because of that. You know, just because, you know, I know you're looking at this business with me, I'm willing to teach you the same thing I taught those people. And what I learned, I'm willing to help you. If you want to join this business with me, I'm willing to pour my heart into you and help you as well. Does that make sense? So that would be a good story. You know, so that would be a story, I tell that story. And just so you know, I still tell that story to this day because there's people that I want to help and that I can help in other businesses and in direct sales. And the skill sets that I did learn, I can actually help them. Now, you may not have a $1.4 million story, but it doesn't matter. You could have a $500 story. You could have a $20 story. You could have a weight loss story. You could have a story about how you just grew out of a doubt. We're going to talk about that in a second, of the different parts of the story. But it's so important that you have that good story and you want to think through your life because in life, you know, you've had good stories. That good story, if you notice, that story was a little, you know, a few years ago when that actually happened in my life. But you know what? I'm about to do a video because I'm doing some lead generation online, which I'll talk to you about a little bit later as well. But I'm doing some lead generation online with some funnels and stuff like that. And I'm attracting people. And my ideal prospect, that story will help. So what I'm about to do is do that story again on video and be able to market that online to be able to attract my ideal prospect. I also have other good stories, and I can tell you, I'm not going to tell them on this particular recording, but I have other good stories in different areas of my life that I've had success in that I could tell. That was just a big one that I like to tell, and it's relatable to a lot of people. But then sometimes people can't relate to 1.4 million. So my good story might be a $10,000 a month good story or a $5,000 good story. It just depends. Depends on you know, who I'm talking to. And once you learn how to tell these stories, you got to learn how to be flexible and bend with your story because it needs to be able to attract that person you're speaking to. Your story isn't just to boast about what you've done. The story is for the person. That's an important thing to remember this. When you're telling your story isn't for you to brag about what you've done. The story has to be for that person you're speaking to, not people in general. Your story needs to be able to impact that person. And that's why you got to know your stories and be able to, you know, say them as often as you can and say them as precise. So you're not rambling all over the place. Two, it has to be for that person so that person could be attracted to you. And that's the goal of that story. So that's your good story. So let's talk about the next story. The next story is called a bad story. And a bad story is where you, how you had to overcome something. Maybe you had to overcome a fear. Maybe you had to overcome some different difficulties in life. And then what you did after you achieved it. So after you overcame that challenge or situation or bad scenario, what you did with it and how you were able to help other people through that process too. So let me give you an example of one of my bad stories in that same company. So that same scenario. So I just told you the story a minute ago about how I was able to earn out that money, but there's another piece of that story. By the way, stories sometimes have chunks. So I just told you from the beginning, I kind of told you the 30,000 foot view of that story. I told you the beginning and I told you the end. What I didn't tell you is all the stuff in the middle, all the hardship I had to go through in that story. So let me give you a part of it. So now after I joined that company, I invested my $20,000. That was in about July. So now the August, September, October, November, December had to come. And so I had to start trying to generate money. And in that business, there was what's called a certification process where you had to certify and be able to get qualified to be able to generate income. So what ended up happening is I was driving to Torrance. Remember, I told you Torrance is about 50 miles away from my house. So what I did was I traded my car in. When I'm all in something, you guys, I'm all in. So what I did is I traded my car in. I bought a 7-passenger vehicle because I figured, hey, if I got to get these people to the meeting, I got to go pick them up. And so I did. I picked up a carload of people every week. I bring 2 to 3 to 4 people a week, drive them to Torrance. They see the presentation. The first person I brought was Robert and Rosie. They joined, $20,000. They came in. I was like, all right, I'm halfway to certification. So then I invited another guy named Rodney down there, and he came and he joined. Now I'm certified. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm in the money. Now I can start making some money in this business. So I did. I kept, loading my car up and bringing people down there, and I would drive around to their houses, pick them up, bring them down to Torrance. And I did that for about 3 to 4 months. And I bring in 3 or 4 a week on every Thursday and every Saturday. I'd load my car up and fill it and bring them down to the room. Nobody would join. And so now you got to remember, August came, I got to pay $7,000 a month house payment. I got a $20,000 debt now, on top of my $150,000 debt I already had. And then, September came, and now I'm not making any money yet. And now I have no job. I have a little bit of residual income coming from Aflac, but nothing to be able to pay all the bills I needed to pay. So I'm hustling, doing whatever I can. My wife's doing whatever she can. And then, October comes, and still nobody joined the business. And I'm like, okay, we're humping, we're putting out flyers and going to networking events. We're doing all this crazy stuff, putting out bandit signs and doing all this stuff to try to get people to sign up, and nobody would join. So then come December, November came, the end of November, I was like, Jay, I don't know how we're gonna keep doing this. I don't have any more money. I don't have the gas to keep driving down there. And that was when gas prices started to go to like $4 a gallon or something. It was crazy. And I was like, well, what are we gonna do? And she was like, I don't know. And so come to find out, I heard somebody whispering that there was a meeting in Irvine at the Hyatt Hotel. Now I'm driving 40 minutes past the Irvine Hyatt to go to the meeting in Torrance, because that's where I was told the meetings were. They didn't tell me about this one out here in Irvine. So I decided, I said, Jay, go over to Irvine and check it out. So she went over and checked it out, and she saw it. There was about 15 people in the room. It was a decent meeting, but there was a great leader there. His name was Justin. And I said, wow. I said, okay, you think the meeting's good? She goes, well, there's not a lot of people there, and it's kind of corny, nowhere near as good as the one in Torrance, but I think you could do something in there. So I said, okay. So the next week I said, I'm going to go with you. So I took my wife over to this meeting at the Hyatt Hotel. Now, remember, she's pregnant now. She's about 6, 7 months pregnant. And we were going to go, and we were pulling up to park, and come to find out the parking thing said, $6 to park. And I went to put my ATM in, and it didn't work. And I didn't have any cash. The reason why is because I was living off my overdraft at that point. And my overdraft wouldn't take my $6 in my debit card. That's how low of income I got to. So we had to park across the street at the soup plantation and walk about 5 minutes with my pregnant wife over to this meeting. So we go into the hotel, and we're sitting in there, we're watching this presentation, and Justin's doing the presentation. And I'm looking around the Orange County area, and I'm like, you mean to tell me this is all the people in Orange County? 15 people. I said, okay, it's on. I said, Justin, I need some help. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, I brought 50 people to the meeting down in Torrance, and nobody joined. I got 2 people to join. I'm certified, but nobody joined. I can't make any money, and I need help immediately. He goes, you brought 50 people to the meeting and no one joined? He goes, yeah. He goes, I have an office right here in Irvine. Why don't you bring a couple of them over to me and let me talk to them? I said, okay, no problem. So we did. So I booked a meeting for the next day. I called up 2 people. Cindy was the first one. I said, Cindy, why don't you come over to this office? I want you to meet my friend Justin. He wants to kind of share with you about the business. Now, remember, Cindy had already come to Torrance and didn't join. So I brought Cindy over the next day. I remember it was 1 o'clock, and Justin sat down with her. I got my white paper out and blue pen, and I just audio recorded the entire conversation. And Justin did a little presentation with her, showed her the plan, showed her how it worked. Boom, $20,000 she paid right there on the spot. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. How'd you do that? He goes, man, it's just the system. I was like, okay, well, tell me. Here, I got another one. I got another one coming at 3 o'clock. So another dude came at 3 o'clock. He came in, sat down. He did the presentation. I did notes. I took notes exactly what he did. I recorded it again. He did the exact same presentation, and boom, $40,000. The person joined. I mean, 2 sales that first. I was like, it's on, no problem. And so I said, I got like 48 more people. Can I bring? He goes, yeah, you can, but I'll take 50% of the commission. I said, okay, it's all good. I think I got it. So I went and studied that audio. I went and mapped out what he wrote. And I went and I created an office at Coco's right across the street. And I said, that's my office from now on, because I didn't have an office. So those other 48 people, I'd have them come to Coco's. I sit down with them. I do a presentation, exactly what Justin did. And boom, the next person signed up. But that next month, in January, it was December came, and then January came. The next month in January, I put $30,000 in my bank. And then the next month, I made $70,000. And the next month, I made $114,000 in my bank account. And within 12 months, I put over $650,000 in my bank account. I was completely debt-free. We had paid off all of our bills. We had no credit issues anymore. And it was unbelievable. But the most important thing is how many people I was able to help learn that exact same system that Justin taught me. And that system that he taught me, I duplicated and mimicked it and made it even better, more refined. so I could duplicate it through the people that I was working with. And they had tremendous success, and some of them even today are multimillionaires because of that system. And just, if you decide that you want to get in business with me, I'm going to teach you that exact same system so you can learn it and you can grow whatever business you want to grow as well. So that's what's called a bad story. So it was bad, not quite as bad as the first one, 150,000 in debt, but you saw, I told that story, So, and that story, I'm gonna tell you, it stuck with people for a long, long, long time. I was actually called the $6 million man. I mean, the $6 man. Remember like Steve Austin was the $6 million man? I was the $6 man because I couldn't afford $6 to pay for parking. And I told that story from the front of the room, and I remember people were crying. Remember that story because they could relate to that story. And that story made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you got to learn how to tell your bad story and be able to relate it, to the people, because the people you're going to be talking to in business, people in network marketing, people you meet at the events and at trainings and stuff like that, a lot of people are struggling out there. And that's why I'm willing to give so much to people. That's why I'm willing to give this training like I'm doing. Like I pour my heart out to people because I know the struggle I went through to make it. I know the struggle, and I know how difficult it is to get the help you need to build this business. And so that's why, I tell these stories, and I'm pouring my heart out to you even in this training so you can learn. And it's funny because a lot of people can be on this training, but aren't. They don't want it that bad. But if there was one person in this training, I'd still be talking to you right now. And that's how I feel about it. It doesn't matter. I'm not doing it for the people that don't want to be here. I'm doing it for the people that made a commitment to be on this training. But telling your stories is so important. Now let me kind of talk about some of the things that you want to look at as the third type of story is your ugly story. Now, if those weren't bad enough, there are definitely ugly stories too, or ugly stories as well. Stories that you had a real bad experience and what you did to overcome that. So I'll give you an example because what ended up happening, so I go to build this business for the next 2 years. And so, I tear up a little bit sometimes because, this is close to the heart, and every time I tell it, I remember the feeling I went through as I was going through this live. And it's okay, just so you guys know, it's okay to tell your story with emotion because when you tell your story with emotion, people feel it. And that's really what you do. You're not just kind of going through cookie cutter story. You tell it with emotion so they can feel, what you went through, and then they can, you can relate to them. So, one of my ugly stories, I remember, so keep going on that same path. I built the business, 650,000 that year, another 700,000 the next year. My wife bought 30 houses. We were killing it. We were doing awesome. Then 2009 hit. And you guys know what 2009 is all about, right? So we were in the real estate space. And I remember in the month of December, I had a great December that year, and then January came and I started killing it. I mean, my systems were refined. I was shooting video. We had an office. I had a 10,000 square foot office space. We had over 100 people in my office, and about 700 people a week coming through our office. So we were doing really well. And I was going after my dream, going after my goal. But I remember 2009 hit, and that month I had 10 sales going in by the 15th of the month. That means I had $100,000 half a month already built. And then one started canceling after the other. The next one canceled. The next one canceled. Charged it back. Cancel. Had 10 cancels in a row. All 10 of my first 10 in that month of January canceled. Now at this point, I have now a $40,000 a month overhead between the office and my cars and house and everything else. And no income other than that money coming in, and it was gone. It was tough because we had all these people in our office and we were struggling. So then, after a few months go by, we couldn't pay the office payment anymore. So we had to decide to shut the office down. So I did. I decided to shut that office down, and we shut it down. I sent everybody back to work. And it was actually a blessing in disguise because so many of those people are doing well right now. But for me, it was tough. When I shut that office down, you guys, you have no idea the struggle I went through mentally. Being able to earn the kind of income I was earning, and then leaving there, I'm like, now what am I going to do now? What do I do? How do I go after my goals now? How do I go after my dreams that I want to do for the ministry and everything else now? And I didn't know. And I remember coming home, and in 2010, we had to file BK because I didn't know when I got the office to put it in a corporation. I put it under my personal name. So now I have $450,000 in debt from that office on my credit and my cars and everything else that we had to give back, and had to file BK. So now I was hurting again. And I was sitting there I remember laying on the bed. My wife was there looking at me, and she's like, "Steven, you got to get up and go to work." And I was like, "Man, I don't know what to do." And I was kind of curled up in the fetal position. But one of my friends, Matt, called me up and said, "Steven, what's going on?" And I was like, "Nothing much, man. Just tough." He goes, "Dude, what's the matter with you?" He goes, "You know what to do. You taught us." He goes, "I have my real estate business. I run a multi-million-dollar real estate business right now. And I can tell you, Steven, everything in that business is contributed to you." He says, "You didn't teach me real estate, but you taught me how to run a business. You taught me how to sell. You taught me how to tell my story. You taught me how to talk to people. And the skills you taught me, I implemented into my real estate business. And my business, we're doing well now." I said, "You know what to do. Go do what you know." I said, "Okay." And he inspired me, and I got up, and that's when I created my training system that you see today. My business sales expert and my business sales academy. I started teaching people my skill sets. And I started training them to help them be able to accomplish their goals. And when I did that, it was just so impacting because I saw so many lives start changing. The hardest part was seeing the people that would join the training, get the information, and do nothing with it. That was the hard part. But the inspiring part for me was after that, I was able to, generate a substantial income again. My wife doesn't work. She works, stays home with the kids. We're able to pull our kids out, do homeschool our kids. We run a ministry that now we're teaching the Word of God to pastors all over the world. People donate to our ministry, and we give that money to the orphans. We serve over 200 orphans, and we've helped a lot of people change their life because of that bad situation. And in the same way, you that are watching this training right now, this recording, want to do the same thing for you. I'm willing to take this information, teach it to you, so you can learn it, so you can make impact in other people's lives, just like people have made impact in mine. So that's my ugly story. So, sorry guys. But my kids laugh at me because I cry so much, especially every week in the Sabbath service, every week. But anyway, yeah, that's my stories there, you guys. That's just one scenario in one business. So you see how that one scenario had multiple stories. I got about 20 or 30 different stories that can come out of that one company scenario as well. And I got 20 or 30 to come out of my Affleck. I got 20 or 30 in life itself, just in life. I got hundreds and hundreds of stories because they relate to different people at different times. But if you notice, at the end of each story, I tied it back to the person and let them know that I could help them. See, when people know that you care about them and that you're willing to pour what you've learned into them, you don't need a script. It's not scripted. Yes, it's my story, it's true, but it's not scripted, it's from the heart. And you've got to learn how to tell your story. So here's some qualities of your story. Number one, you want to be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be willing to cry. I mean, it's hard for me to get through my stories without tearing up. It's hard. And it's not because I'm sad about the story. It's just because it takes me back emotionally to where it was at the time and how hard it was. I don't look back at it as negative. I'm actually, like I said, I'm grateful. I'm thankful for those stories. I tell them all the time. But you got to be vulnerable. And you got to be vulnerable with the fear that you have or the fear that you had. If you had fear in your life, I could tell you some fear stories that I had to deal with as well. But you got to be vulnerable with those, because when you have fear and you overcome it, guess how many other people have fear that need to overcome it? And they'll see that you did. And that'll be helpful for them. Maybe you lack knowledge. Maybe you didn't know what to do. And like I said, I lacked the knowledge when I went to Justin. I had to be humble. I had to be humble to go to Justin and say, "Listen, bro, I don't know what to do. I'm in trouble financially. I'm hurting and I need help." And he was willing to help me. So that's another quality you need to have. You need to, with your vulnerability, you got to, be open with that you lack the knowledge and skill set of what it takes. And that's the next one, skills. I didn't have the skill. I thought I had the skill, but until I saw Justin do it and I mimicked what he did, I had to know that I don't know everything. Even to this day, you guys don't know. I am on a YouTube video every day, with the exception of the Sabbath day. I'm on a YouTube video learning about online marketing, learning about how to build my landing pages better, and how script writing works online, because I'm the master at it offline. But online, I'm learning, I'm good at it, but I'm nowhere near as good as some of these other people that are making millions online. I will be, because I understand how the 4 levels of learning works, and I'm teaching the people that want to learn it. That's why I keep recommending you guys to set up your email accounts and your landing pages and all that stuff, because once I get it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to teach it to the people that want to learn it, that are here. So I'm learning it, but I'm also teaching it at the same time I'm learning it, so you guys can grasp it at the same time. But you got to be humble to be able to know that you don't have all the answers. You don't have the skill set. Another thing you got to be vulnerable about is your lack of belief. Maybe that you didn't believe in yourself. Maybe you didn't believe in the company. Maybe you didn't believe in your leadership, or whatever the case may be. You didn't believe. But you got to be vulnerable and let people know that, because they don't believe. A lot of times the reason why they're not doing something is because they don't believe it's possible. You also maybe have to be vulnerable about your past history and your doubts. So maybe your past history is holding you back, or some doubts that people instilled in your head years ago. Maybe those doubts are what's holding you back from achieving your goal. So you got to be vulnerable with all of those things, so people can relate to you, and then they'll be attracted to you. Another thing you got to be is real. You got to be real. Let people see the real you. You guys know me. I'm the real me. I'm the same person right now. You call me up after this call, I'm gonna talk to you the same way. You meet me at a party, I'm the same way. You come over to my house, I'm the same way. You meet me at the gym, I'm the same guy. I don't conform. I could be around multimillionaires, I'm the same guy. I could be around dead broke people with nothing, homeless, I'm the same person. I'm the same person. So you need to be real. You need to let people see you be real, because that will impact people. They'll be like, man, this guy's the real deal. He's a real guy. I just met a gentleman the other day who's a coaching client of mine now. I did accept him as a coaching client, but the reason I did, because how he found me. He found me on a video. I did a training with a guy on a radio station a few years ago. I did an online training with him, and he recorded it. And I guess he still talks about it or broadcasts it, but the guy saw my radio show. And then what he did was he came and found my website. He watched a couple of my YouTube videos. Then he went and booked a meeting with my training, my travel business. He actually signed up for the travel business. And then I saw that, wow, this guy opted in. So I gave him a call, gave him a free hour strategy session. And he's starting a franchise, a coffee franchise, and he needs help with marketing and knowing how to network and build his funnels and all that. So he hired me as a coach. And we're starting this week. But that's because he said, Stephen, I know you're the real deal. He said, Stephen, I see a lot of trainers out there. I see a lot of YouTube videos. I talk to a lot of people, but on every single thing, you're the same person. You're the same guy. And so, and then when I talk to him on the phone, he goes, this is the same guy I just heard all day long. And that's because I'm real. And that's one of the things you got to learn to do, is be real, be vulnerable of who you are, and people will be attracted to you. And that'll be one of your best ways to generate leads. The next thing you got to do is you got to not be fake. In other words, there's a sentence there that says, who you are when you're alone is who you really are. So that's another thing you got to do is whoever you are when you're alone, you got to really look at your character and say, whoever you are when you're alone, that's who you really are. So you need to be that same person in public. If you're a different person in private than you are in public, that's bad. It's not good. You need to be vulnerable, you need to be real, and be who you really are at all times. And then the last thing it says is be honest. In other words, don't make things better, bigger, or worse than they really are. Don't elaborate on your story. When I'm telling my story, everything I told you is 100% real. And it's probably worse than what it could have been, what it really was. It definitely was, but I didn't go into all that because it may not necessarily be necessary. So I don't elaborate. I tell the story with the intent to relate to the person, to grab their attention, to attract them to me so I can help them, not so I can sell them something. That's a big difference. I don't tell my story so I can convince someone to buy something from me. I tell my story so hopefully they'll believe in me so I can help them accomplish their goals. And that's a mindset that you want to have, is you got to have this mindset that you're doing it to help them, which is the next part of the storytelling, which is begin with the end in mind. Let me pull this up here. Begin with the end in mind. In other words, when you are telling your story, you got to tell your story with the intent to help the other person achieve whatever their goal is. That should be your goal. So whenever I'm telling my story, even this training today, when I wrote out this training tonight and I said I'm going to teach this topic, my intent wasn't to sell you something. My intent isn't to, matter of fact, this training for all of you that are on here is free, that are getting this message live, and then the people that are getting it, the recording, you're getting it because you have become part of my community somehow. But the bottom line is, it's not to sell you something, it's to help you. And if I can help you with just learning how to tell your story, I may not receive a penny from that. But you know what? You'll be a better person in this world. You'll be able to impact someone else. You'll be able to make a difference in someone else's life with the products and services that you offer. If you choose to do something with me or work with me somehow down the road, that's the case, and that's the case, but that's not the intent. And that's very important to understand the intent. The intent needs to be to help the other person. So help the other person with what? One, overcome their fear. That might be the reason why you're telling your story, is to help them overcome their fear. When I talk to someone and they have a fear of speaking, I talk about how I used to be afraid of speaking. And I had to go back to school to learn how to speak. I was so afraid of speaking, I literally went back to college at around 28 years old and went back to take speech classes. And I went to acting class, and I took acting classes. Because I knew one day I was going to be in front of a room, teaching business and teaching how to speak and everything, and teaching, running my own business. So I knew I was going to have to learn how to do this. So I went and did it. I was afraid, but I did it anyway. So I teach people, and I tell my story about how I overcame my fear. Maybe how to increase their belief. That's another reason why you tell your story, to help them increase their belief in themselves, and their belief in their business or their opportunity, or the belief in your opportunity or your business that you're going to help them with. Another thing, maybe overcome their doubt. Because a lot of people really just have doubt. They doubt if they can do it. They say, well, can I do it? Can I really get this done? Can I really accomplish this? If they have doubt, doubt will sink a ship. Faith will move mountains. That's what I read in the book that I read. So it's so important that faith will move mountains, and you got to really help install faith and eliminate some of the doubt. And the way that's done is through your story. Another thing you do is you get them to believe that it can be done. See, that's a big part. You got to get them to believe that it can be done. And the way you do that is you tell your story. You tell other people's story. You show testimonials. And that's why my website is so chock filled with testimonials of people so get people to believe that it can be done. They can accomplish their goals. If they work with you and you alone, that you absolutely can help them accomplish their goals. See, telling your story helps them to believe that it can be done. But that's not the only part of it. They also have to believe that they can do it. See, in network marketing or in direct sales, the two biggest things that people are always asking themselves is, one, can it be done? But the second part is, can they do it? Can they do it personally? See, because a lot of people don't believe they can do it. Years ago, I used to work for the company Aflac I told you about, and I remember they wanted me to be a manager, and I chose not to be a manager there for a long, long time because I was afraid to be a manager. I had never managed anyone. That was in 2000 or so. But they asked me to do it anyway, and I didn't believe I could do it. I saw it could be done because I saw all these managers, but I didn't believe I could do it. But my buddy Steve Spicinger, he was the regional manager there. We're still great friends to this day, but Steve believed in me. And he said, Steven, you can do it. You can be a manager. You're the best in this business. You're the best here in this office. And he allowed me to train his team. I was a salesman training the regional manager, the whole office. And then he encouraged Gary Ware, which was the state manager, for me to go and teach the entire state, the entire territory of all of Orange County and Inland Empire and the Riverside area. He wanted me to come and train the whole state as a sales rep. I wasn't even a district manager at the time. But he had me train the whole state because he believed in me. And because he believed in me, I began to believe in me. And then I was able to take that training and refine it. And that's the same training you guys are learning today. That's the same training you're learning inside the academy. So you can, grow your businesses. So it got me to believe that I could do it. But then there was another part to it too. So not only did I have to believe that it can be done, I had to believe that I could do it, but I had to make a decision that I will do it. And that's one of the other reasons why you want to tell your story, because you got to help people make the decision that they will do it. They might still believe they can. They might believe that it can be done. They might believe they can do it, but they not necessarily have that burning desire. And that's why now when I coach people, I don't look for the money. I don't look for the money anymore. I look for the desire in the person, how bad someone wants something. And that's easy to see how bad they want it. Just like when I was in that company at $20,000. Sorry, guys. When I was in that company at $20,000 and, I had a family, I had a wife, my mom had just moved with me $150,000 in debt. I had to make it work. I would have been belly up. I wanted it that bad. I didn't make excuses that, I don't want to go into more debt to build my business. It didn't matter how much debt I had to go into because I knew I'd earn the money. It didn't matter. So it said, you're getting a new car. Why are you getting a bigger car? Because I got to take more people to the meeting. That's why. It didn't matter. I had a 4-year-old daughter at the time and a baby on the way. My mom just moved in with me and $150,000 in debt, a $7,000 a month house payment. I had to do it. It was not optional. I had to make a decision. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. And I really learned what that sentence means that I talk about all the time is that your success is a decision away. And that's what your story does. Your story is designed to help people make the decision to build the business. Not that just that it can be done, not that they believe they can do it, but they have to make the decision they're gonna do it. That's it, period. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter the learning curve. It doesn't matter how long the 4 levels of learning is gonna take for me to get it. That's it, I'm doing it, that's it, I'm done, it's done. And when that happens, that's the person I like to work with. Because then it's just a matter of showing them the system. Justin didn't do much for me. You know what he had to do? Show me the system. He showed it to me twice. He never closed for me, other than those 2 times. He didn't have to train me no more. He showed me what to do, and I mastered it. And that's the same thing I'm doing right now online. Same thing I'm doing with my funnels. That's why the people that are coming with me, I got a lot of people right now that are starting to get their funnel, starting to learn it, and I'm starting to teach it to them, starting getting their email system set up, they're starting to get their stuff. Because the funnels nowadays, network marketing offline is great. And that's one of my unique selling propositions is teaching people how to network market offline. But I'm seeing there's wealth created online because we can reach so many more people. And that's why I'm gravitating towards that. That's why I keep talking about it. I keep insisting on it. I keep recommending it because the online is where the wealth is going to be created for the people. And there's certain groups of people right now that are getting their funnel. They're getting their systems. And I'm teaching it to them. And I'm committed to the people that are willing to change and to grow. And it's so important. So where do you tell your story? Let's talk about that. Places you tell your story. Number 1, you tell your story when you begin to build the relationship with the person. When you meet someone, you start telling your stories there. That's the first, opportunity to tell your story. You also want to tell your story when you're helping them make the decision to join your business. When you make the decision. Another one I want to throw in there that's not on there is you want to tell the stories when people are coming up with excuses or objections of why they can't do it. There's times you may need to tell your story then. I like to tell the story before it comes up so that it overcomes the objection before it comes up. But sometimes you have to do it after. But the bottom line, I tell my story at that time. You also want to tell your story on your social media walls. See, it's funny because the gentleman I told you that's coaching with me, when he listened to my audio, he was listening to my story. That's what he was listening to. He was listening to me tell my story, and he related to the story. And he said, wow, if this guy can do that for me and do it for that many people, then he can sure do it for me. And I'm in. And he came to me, and he became a client of mine because he had that desire. You also want to tell your story on your landing page. And that's one of the things I'm doing. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be shooting some video. I'm telling my story. This was kind of like a warm-up because I'm going to be telling my stories on video like this, and I'm going to be putting them on my sales funnels. I'm going to be putting them on my landing pages, and I'm going to be telling my story to attract my ideal client so that I can help more people. And then the more people I help, the more people I'll have earned income to be able to help more people, and I'll be able to help more people, and then I'll be able to give to the ministry, and I'll be able to help more people. You notice it's not so I can sell more stuff, so I can sell more widgets or more products. So it's to help more people. See, the reason why I do what I do is to help people. You guys all know my motto. It's if you build the people will build the business, the nation, and the world. And that's how you do it. You build the people. And that's what this is all about. That's what this academy is about. That's what this training is all about. That's why I pour my heart out to you guys every week, because I want to help build the people. And that's you. So the last thing I just want to cover really quick is this book. I would recommend to get this book. It's free. I think you can check it out. Just go to businesssalesexpert.com/MLM secrets. The reason why I recommend that book is because this guy has mastered these sales funnels. And this book goes into some of the things I'm even learning about the value statements and some of the things I didn't learn online. I kind of felt like a racehorse. There's a movie called The Secretariat. It was one of my favorite movies. I saw this movie years ago. I love that movie. And it was so inspiring. But this horse called Secretariat, and these people bet on this horse, and they believed in the horse, and they fed it and everything. And I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie, but you should rent it if you haven't. But this horse named Secretariat was the fastest horse in the world. It was at the Kentucky Derby and won the big three. I don't remember all three of them what they're called, but won the Kentucky Derby, and it beat the people by almost 100-meter length. It was like crazy. You usually win those races by a nose or by an eyelash. He won it like 100 meters. The record will never ever be broken, ever in history, unless a steroid horse comes up or something. But no horse could ever run this fast. But this horse did. And that's kind of how I feel right now. And I'm just going to be vulnerable with you guys right now. The reason why I talk about this marketing, this online marketing, and encourage you guys to get your funnels, encouraging you guys to get your email system, because I feel like that racehorse. I feel like Secretariat. I could say I'm probably the best in the business of teaching people how to build a network marketing business. One of the best. There's a lot of great ones out there. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, but I can say I'm one of the best teachers of this skill set and how to go network and how to meet people and how to help a person make a decision to do business with me. One of the best in the business of doing that skill set. But it will be equivalent to me being Secretariat and being a horse in the Indy 500. Imagine being the best Secretariat in the Indy 500. And I am the best in the business. I am the best horse in the business. And I'm out there running like mad. But then a little old lady comes in a Honda Accord and will drive right past me. Why? Because I can't beat a Honda Accord, no matter how fast of a horse I am. And that's what's happening online. And that's what's happening to some of you watching this message right now. There are little old ladies, there are little old men, there are people with almost no skill set, fresh out of high school, 18-year-olds, 14-year-olds, building YouTube videos and building sales funnels and putting their content online and getting a following and putting people in a room and generating huge amounts of income online, driving, but I got all this skill set and I'm sitting here doing onesie, twosies, drawing circles in living rooms. Now, there's still a room for that. There's still a place for that. That's very important. I do teach that. But online, building your online is your drag racer, is your race car. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm helping build a race car because I'm tired of being a thoroughbred, the best, racehorse there is. And I'm just being vulnerable with you guys. This has been a struggle for me for months. And that's why I'm telling you, I'm sharing this with you because I recommend you to get that book MLM Secrets and go to that website, businesssalesexpert.com/MLM Secrets, get the book and read it, because it's going to start teaching you something to get you out of your comfort zone because you've got to learn online. If you don't learn online, you're going to be left behind. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be that horse, that racehorse. And if you're already not secretary, and if you're already just a kind of a broken down barnacle barge, some of us are, don't get me, just be real. If that's the case, it's going to be even worse. So you've got to build an email list, and you've got to build, this online sales funnel. So the email list, if you need an email, you can go to businesssalesexpert.com/easy email. You can get an email system, but you got to have this, you guys. And I'm just telling you this because this is what I'm going towards. I'm going towards building it online, and it takes a little time. It's a learning curve, but you know me, I'm here. I'm learning this information because I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna master it, I'm gonna learn it, I'm gonna teach it, and the people that wanna learn it with me are gonna go to the top. That's what I do, that's what I'm all about. So today's training was about telling your story. And I hope you got, a good understanding of what a story is, how a story works, and how it can benefit you. Thank you so much for you guys. Thank you so much for this time. And I appreciate you, you guys being here today. You guys have a great day.